Alright, we're going to try this again. We're green off the bat, which is good. We're just going to have to keep an eye on this. Alrighty, so. Let me close down some windows I had open while I was working on this. Apparently, someone in the house was uploading a ginormous file to their own YouTube account, and it just ate the hell out of my bandwidth. So, that's done. Sorry about the delay. Let me get a fresh chat popped out here. Channel. We will get this rolling again. Go ahead and delete that last video because it was just all. Stream health is good. Live chat. Pop out. Okay. Take two. I'm gonna try this again. Okay, do we have smooth video? Watching the playback, let's take just a moment. Can't remember, I think it's like a 15 or 30-second delay. Yeah, it looks okay. Close that so we're not bogging down the downstream. Broadcasting with 0 drop frames at 90 kilobits a second. Alright. So, yesterday, we talked about character creation, doing tokens, adding a portrait, assigning character sheets, all that good stuff. One thing I mentioned in yesterday's stream was that Roll20 is really built for Chrome. And it still stands true. Chrome is still the preferred browser on there. But if you watch yesterday's stream, you'll have noticed that while we were moving the tokens around that had the lighting or whatever with dynamic lighting, it was choppy, it wasn't moving very smoothly, and that was because there's something between OBS and Chrome that when you have the advanced Chrome settings to tell it to use hardware acceleration when available, OBS just does not like it, goes blank, won't record the Chrome window. Oh, sorry, I feel like I was gonna sneeze. So you can get it to record in Chrome, but you have to turn off the hardware acceleration, or you have to instead of doing a oh, what is this called? Give me a second. I'll open it. So window source grab. Oh, and I just locked it up. Okay. Yeah, it's a window capture in OBS, but if you do a window capture with Chrome's hardware acceleration turned on, it just doesn't work. So we did some research. Apparently, Roll20 has done some compatibility work, and it's functional. There's still some reported issues, but it's still functional now in Firefox. So what I did is did a little testing earlier and loaded it up in Firefox, which is what you're seeing right now. Since Firefox isn't playing with hardware acceleration, it'll allow us to actually get a better view of the dynamic lighting. Now, I've seen a few little glitches here and there, like when I try to move the map around, there's a little bit of a delay before it takes the mouse command. To move maps like this, to scroll around, you just basically right-click on the map or on the screen and you just drag it whichever way you want it to. But we're going to rejoin as a player so I can give you a better view of how the dynamic lighting really does look for a player, because with us being in Firefox right now, without the hardware acceleration, it's actually running smoother for the recording portion. So, see when the dynamic, and I got my player caught on a wall. Okay. As you see, as we move around through separate areas, the light just picks up with what's going on. Okay, so that's that. Now, one thing you can do is you can configure your dynamic lighting to where it will only update what your player can see once you drop your character on the tile they're supposed to be on. We'll get into that when we actually set up some dynamic lighting stuff. But one way you can move your player, if you have it set up to where it only updates when they actually move, you can say my character can move 30 feet. We established that when we set them up yesterday. With these being 5-foot squares, means you can move a total of 6 squares. So if you click on your token, you can actually use your arrow keys on your keyboard. So in this case, I'm going to move them 6 squares. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then that way, you characters only going to be able to see what they have when they're moving, instead of the character token being picked up and moved around like this. Because when the token's being moved like that, the DM doesn't see it. The DM actually doesn't see what's going on until the player actually drops the token. So, nice little thing to keep your players from cheating. Because we know there's players around the world, they never cheat. Everybody's 100% honest. Anyway, okay, so today's topic is going to be to talk about setting maps up. So, as I mentioned yesterday, this here is Quinahar Manor. It is a map I set up from scratch. As mentioned before, you can also get maps that are already pre-made. This is one I found from a fan source. I have the documentation saying where the credit was from somewhere. I just can't find it at the moment. But once I find it, what I'm going to do is I plan to put a little watermark on this saying, you know, hey, this was found at such and such source. But you can use these maps. If you're familiar with this map, I won't mention where it's from, but it should look familiar. These areas like this are just solid rock walls, so players shouldn't be able to walk through them. So what I've done is we go to the dynamic lighting layer here. You can see I've drawn dynamic lighting borders. And basically, what that does is with the dynamic lighting collision on, we're going to get into that when we do the map creation portion, is when the players are in the game, they can't actually cross that line. Me being as a DM, I can pick them up and drop them wherever I want them. But they're going to act like it's a solid wall there. They would have saw the door here when they come up here. There was a, right there, it looks like that it's cropped off there because I have a detector there, or a line, or dynamic lighting basically to block that off, because I don't want them to be able to go up there. I'm going to make this like a dead end if I wanted to, or you could put like a secret passage or something. I haven't quite decided what I want to do with this map yet. I have a few little, what do we call them, cheat setups. If you don't think you're really up to the task of generating a map for yourself, or you really don't find anything you want, or when you set it up it just doesn't look right on the grid here, one thing I like to do, there is a tool that Wizards of the Coast has on their site. It's called a random dungeon generator, and I just so happen to have it open in a second tab. I pulled it up here for you guys. Basically what you can do here is you can put in a set of options, and you can actually generate a map. You can generate adventure hooks for it. You can put in, it can spit out characters for you to put in there. So if you just want to do kind of a quick dirty on the fly, you can do this. One thing that I've been playing with, I've got one map on a different game. No, I'm sorry, I deleted that map. That game actually closed down. It was really non-functional, so me and my little OCD method, I went, okay, it's got to go away. I just can't fix it. So I wound up deleting it. I still have the map saved elsewhere. I could reuse it if I want to, but we'll just go through the whole generation process that I do here. That way you guys can see what's all entailed with this. This is probably going to be the easiest way you can do to get maps. So you're going to have to go full screen to see this properly. Let me see if I zoom in, if that'll make it easier for you guys to see on the screen. Oh yeah, that did help. Okay, so the gray box here are your map settings. Then you can choose what source books you want this to go through. Now this, I believe, is going to generate everything in 3.5 edition. It's really not a big problem. If it gives you monsters or NPCs, you can go through and, you know, edit them for whatever monsters or NPCs you really want to use. What I usually like it for is I like it to show me just a couple quick adventure hooks to kind of get the whole brain juices running and start taking a look at, or start generating some of my own ideas, or just kind of incorporating a few of theirs. So we're just going to go with some basic stuff here. I'm going to say this is going to be a random, the starting room is going to be a random medium-sized room. If you want to say they came in through some weird side door, maybe a grand ballroom entrance, you can change it to small or large. Not sure what the special tests are. I haven't really played with those. Feel free to experiment. That's what it's here for. When the stream's over, I will put a link to this in the description box of the video, since it'll be available for replay. But I'm just gonna say, you know, our starting room size is a random room. It's medium. The start room has exits on every wall. You can choose whether you want it on a third of the walls, half of the walls, 2/3 of the walls, or on every single wall. Let's say they come in. I only want my guys to have one of the three walls to have, three other walls to have an exiting door. We want our dungeon room sizes. I want this to be full of medium-sized rooms. I want long hallways. I actually want more hallways than rooms. I just wanted them to be having to wander around in this great big keep or whatever. We're going to make this a large dungeon. And for room exits, this kind of falls back on the same thing as that initial room. Do you want, you know, a normal amount of doors? Do you want very few entrances and exits to each room, or do you want a lot of ways in and out of each room? I'm just going to leave it on normal. I'm going to say let's have some secret doors, but no portcullises. When it says black and white or color on the map, I leave it as black and white. When you choose color, basically what it does is it has like a sepia background that makes it look like it was printed on parchment or something. The reason I don't really care about that is I'm not going to actually use the map that it generates, and I'll explain why when I get to that point. We're actually going to recreate it. Do we want a grid on it for the 5-foot lines? We want that on. That's going to be really key in how we transfer this over. And do we want the map and adventure, or do we want a map only? I'm going to do map and adventure just so I can show you what we were talking about. So these adventure settings, what is the level of your dungeon? You know, what's your party average level? I'm going to leave it at level 1, make it a starting. The theme, we can make it a generic theme. If you want to be like a crypt, a sewer, we're going to leave it as a generic theme. We're going to leave DM details on, intro text on, feature text. We're going to leave all of this stuff on because this is your adventure hook stuff. You can actually tell it to give you up to 5 adventure hooks, which I'm just going to say right now. Get as many as you can. It'll give you a bunch of ideas, help you figure out what you want to do. For monster sources, I'm going to tell it I just want to use the core books for now. We're just going to make this easy to go. And the seed titled, we want to do Lair of the Mad Alchemist or the Monastery Cellar. We're not going to do either one of those. So when you're done with that, hit generate. I'm going to open another tab. And there's our dungeon. Remember, we chose it to make it just, what did we say, a normal dungeon? No, we said we wanted it to be a large dungeon. Oh, the rooms are really large. Okay. So as you can see with the black and white, we've got all this wasted grid back here. So, and when you scroll down, you now have generic dungeons, and it's a random adventure for 4 first level characters. And it gives you all kinds of stuff. It's going to tell you dungeon features, what kind of wandering monsters are in the area, which wandering monsters there's a chance they could come across. We're going to have room details that we could fill out, trap summaries, and we have adventure hooks. And then we actually have seed values at the very bottom. So if you want to share this with anybody, have them generated themselves, you can just send them the map and adventure seed, and they can go in here, put a load value, and load it back up. But okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to look at this room by room. So the first thing we need to find out is how big we need our map to be. Now, I'm only going to worry about the actual white sections you see on here because this is going to be our actual map. So I'm going to start on the left side here, and we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So we need to have a height of 18 squares. I'm going to write this down. And we need a width of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 20 squares. Okay, so we know what our dimensions are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our Roll20 game. And what we're going to do at this point is we're going to use our ribbon here. And I'm going to create a new page. It's going to come up. It's going to be untitled. You can just click where it says untitled. And I'm just going to call this generic, if I can type. And I'm going to go ahead and drag the player's ribbon over here. That way, when I'm testing it back and forth, we can just go in and out of it. And what we can do now is, since we're on here, we're going to click the little gear. And for our page size, so what we're going to do is it says page size, how many units by how many units. 1 unit equals 70 pixels, and the scale is 1 unit is 5 feet. So this is where we got our square count. So we're going to have, because it goes width by height, we're going to have 20 wide by 18 high. Now this is going to put the map on the very edges, so we may want to pad this a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 extra squares on both sides. And we're going to say the grid's enabled. Each grid's 1 unit, which is the 5 foot. We're going to leave it as the white background for now. Our grid color, I usually change it to a solid black to begin with. We're not going to play with fog of war or the dynamic lighting information off the bat. And we talked about sounds before, and if we want any sound, if you set up tracks, playlists, any of that, you can turn it on here. So once we have it set up, I'm going to say OK. And since I know I added 2 extra squares here, 2 extra squares here, we're basically going to want to start. So I'm going to put a little freehand mark right here. This is going to be our top left corner. Let's go back and look at our map here. And our top left corner is actually going to be right here for this map. So we need to go in 2, 4, 6. We need to go in 6 squares, and then we need to make a line 6 squares long, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to go polygon line, and I'm going to set up the walls. We'll use a lighter flooring, so I'll just go ahead and set up the walls with black lines. So we gotta get this in 1, 5, 6. Okay. So we need to start at 6, and we needed to make a line 6 squares long. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what I did, where you can see that little black dot where I started, I'm holding down the shift key on the keyboard, and I clicked in that corner there. Now I'm continuing to hold the shift key since I need the line to be straight to here. I'm going to click here, and I have a direct line. Once your line's done, I'm going to suggest that you make every wall segment its own separate line. That way, if you want to change anything, add a secret door, or anything like that, you're not deleting entire sections of the map at once. You can delete it a line at a time. So we made our first line there, 6 squares long, 30 feet. And we need to make this 2, 4, 6 tall. I gotta quit alt tabbing. We're not going between. So same thing. I'm gonna start back here. I'm gonna hold shift, click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. While continuing to hold shift, click. Got another straight line. Right click to set it. I'm gonna go out here, and when you're on the draw mode here, you can't use your right mouse button to drag the screen around, so this is where it comes in handy to just be comfortable with grabbing your scroll bars and moving. So we went 6 over, 6 down, and if you'll see here, this 10-foot section has a door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that blank. I'm going to skip that 10-foot section, and then I'm going to make a 20-foot wide line next to it. So let's go back here, skip the 10 foot, holding shift, click, 5, 10, 15, 20. Hit our click while holding shift still, right click to set it. Now, let me drag this tab over. So we're here at this point, so we can go ahead and complete room number 4 there by just doing the shift click, come up, shift click, right click to set. There, room 4 is ready. We know there's going to be a door here. Let's go ahead and kick it off and start with this little unmarked room right here. I'm going to zoom in. Ooh, that made that really big. Okay. So, we left this section blank, so we need to do a 10 by 20 section right here to make this little L shape. And go to the right tab here. Shift click. Go over while holding shift, click again. Let go of shift, right click to set. Now we need to go 20 feet down. Shift click. 5, 10, 15, 20. Right click to set. Go back and look at the map. This is going to go 10 by 10 by 10. So put a 10-foot section, set it. Put another 10-foot section, set it. Make another 10-foot section, set it. Now, when we looked at the map, there was another door right here, so we could either get in this way or this way. Now, what I was mentioning earlier is, let's say you kind of want to play around with this and make room 4 here a secret room. What you can do is, I'll show you how to do this in the dynamic lighting layer, but we can take our color here and make it just slightly off. We can add an extra wall section there, and it's not really that noticeable. That way, if your rogue or whatever in your party is actually looking, or you have a dwarf who can see hidden, is it dwarves or halflings that see hidden? Whatever, I'm a Dragonlance person. You got a Kender in your party, and you know they see that wall is fake. You can just go and click that one section and delete it. If we're done, when we're done setting up with the map, if you decide, you know, hey, I want to make this section 20 feet wider this way, you can click this one wall section and delete it and just redraw in what you want. So that is the exact reason why I highly recommend only putting each wall section individually and not drawing an entire if I can click, and not drawing an entire room. Like, say this was going to be a 15 by 15 by 20 by 10 by 10 by 5. Now if I decided, oh, I forgot to leave space for a door, well, if I go to click any section of this, it gets rid of all of it. So the individual wall sections are great, because if I decided I wanted to put a door here, and I'm giving you plenty of explanations, you probably get the point, but I ramble. I'll just show you. If I want to put a 10-foot secret door right there in the middle, now I can come back. I can say, go to here, go to here, use a different color. And bam, we now have a secret door there. That, oh, your Kender found that, you know, there's a section of wall that appears to not be connected to the rest, and upon investigating, he accidentally steps on something on the ground and the door swings open or falls into the floor. Duh, you have a door. Okay, so we're just gonna go back and make it a solid wall though. And I wish it would quit defaulting to my color down here. Remember that I was using black. Okay, so let's continue building this map. So we had a door here, a door here. The next section we're going to worry about is room 3. So we need to go 10, 20, 30 feet out of room 4 horizontally. So scroll back over. Going to start our line here. We're going to go 10, 20, 30. And as I said earlier, look, we're within our buffer zone. We added two squares to the horizontal, and we did 2 squares to the top. Now what's going to happen is we're going to run in over here so we can go ahead and, excuse me, widen it again to add more squares that way if we want to. But let's just go with it and see how it looks for now. Excuse me. I had pizza for dinner and it is not wanting to play nice. Okay, so now we're going to go 20 feet down from this section here. We're going to start here, 10, 20. Right click to set it. And now we know that this door, or this horizontal line here, is going to be the bottom of room 3, but there was a door down there. So what we can do is we can go ahead and shore up the wall here on the west side. Let's figure out what line we're on. We have that there. And our door was 20 feet in. And then we have a 10-foot door. Okay. So we start here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Have a 10-foot door. We have another 20 feet there. Let's just double check our work. 10, 20. Got a door that's 10 feet. 10, 20. Okay. So, perfect. So let's go ahead and start building on room 2. To the left side of that door there, we need to go 30 feet down. No. Yeah, 30 feet down. Bill can't math right now. So 10, 20, let's see, 10, 20, 15, 20, and 30. I seriously hate bumping into the edges like this. So what we're going to do is we are going to give ourselves a little more padding. We'll add 2 more squares on either side. Because the way that it works, it will grow eastward and it will grow southward. So we're going to make it 24 by 22. And now we have 2 down here, and we'll have extra room over here when we get to it. We can close our toolbar. We now have our long line there. So you're going to need to build this out to line up with that L-shaped room there. So what we can do is, I'm going to line up here if I remember right. I could go back and look because I am really dumb at following this. Okay, no, it's going to go there. So what we're going to do to build kind of a guide is we're going to give us our 10-foot section here. That's room 1. We're going to have a 10-foot door, and then the rest of the way will line up with room 2. Now room 2 did not have a door on the bottom, so we can just draw a straight line. And now we have room 2 set up. So, last thing, let's get room 1 done. We went ahead and set it here, and we knew this was the door into room 1. I keep clicking the wrong tab. So that's the door to room 1. And room 1 is going to be 30 feet wide. Get line. See what I mean? I forget stuff very quickly. Yep. So 20, 30. We have a wall straight down and over. Okay. With that, we now have our basic layer done. I know you can't see the whole thing at once. If you want to, you can actually take the slider bar right here and zoom out. And that way we can now see our entire map. Okay. If you ever want to reset your zoom, by the way, if you're zoomed out or if you just got in way too close and you're trying to get back to 100, you can either go here. Oh, they still haven't fixed that. You have to hold it. Ooh, maybe this is a one of those Firefox issues. Anyway, the way I usually do it is I just double click that square and it resets it to 100% zoom. You also have this little ruler here, so if you're trying to make a determination, let's say you're going to, you know, you've got a dart that you're going to throw and it's got a 30-foot range normally, or if you do a whatever it was that gives you like 120-foot range, you can click the ruler and say your character's standing here. I want to throw it 30 feet. That means I can throw it this far. I want to throw it farther, you just keep going. So you can measure the distance. So if you're trying to say there's a goblin down here and you're here, and you're saying, well, I want to use my movement action to get to the goblin. So if you're going to be next to him, there's 20 feet. You have a 30-foot movement speed. Hey, you can take your full movement and you can take your action. Okay, so back to this. Okay, so now we have our basic dungeon. What are we going to do about it? Well, I'm just going to make this like the inside of an old house. Let's go back and look, see if there's anything else we noticed or anything else weird. We are missing a wall right here. It looks like for room 2, we are. So we need to finish that up. Give me the black color again. Okay, so we know this right here is like dead space. It's really the only dead space within here. So what we can do, or what I'll do, is I'm going to go to my art stuff here, and I have some different tiles that I had found online, part of free theme packs. We can either use stuff that we've uploaded, or you can search for things. I'm just going to put it as, I'm just going to call it cement. Let's look, see if we have cement tiles. We do. Okay. But they're in the premium assets. What do we have in the freebies? Ooh, nothing. So we're going to just look for tile. We have all different kinds of stuff. Okay. So I kind of want it to be like it's outside. So you know what? I'll just take some dead looking grass so I remember what it is. I go back to my field there. Oh, and we've made one mistake already. Okay. We're on the object and token layer drawing all this. So that means we could drag it off and around while we're on the object. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to do a Control A for everything to get everything here. And I'm going to right click it, tell it to send it to the map layer. Now if we did that right, we shouldn't be able to move anything now. Okay. So hint number whatever we're at. Make sure you're on the right layer when you're working on stuff. We actually had a fun flub up on one game that I was playing in that somebody else was running. It was their first time running Roll20. I tried to help them out, and what we didn't realize until later, we didn't know they were loading maps. We thought we were playing Theater of the Mind, because we get on this map and it's just a blank grid. Has a few lines on it, so we thought, okay, maybe they're just doing crude drawings, trying to show how they want it to go. Well, ultimately what had happened was they had a map, but they had put it on the GM overlay layer, so while we were playing, we were like, they were describing things, and we're like, where was it at again? They're like, you don't see this blue part here? We're like, we have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, do you have a map? They're like, yeah. So it's like, okay, go to your GM layer, right click your map, tell it to go to the map layer, and all of a sudden, boom, we had a map up. So it was quite funny. I hear yelling. Okay, and I want this to sit behind the map line, so I'm going to tell it send it to the back. And if you'll notice, the black lines have overlaid it. So I'm going to grab another one, bring it out. You can also do a copy and paste. It's a little bit more of a pain to do, but we're going to take it, we're going to send it to the back. And to back. Okay, so I now know this is part of the outside. So I need to pick a tile that I want to use for the inside here. So let's say that our players, we actually have to find out how they get into this dungeon. So who has an outside facing door? None of these rooms have an outside facing door, so we're going to have to figure out how they get in and where they get in. So I'm going to say that they came in through room 1 here. We need to pick somewhere to put a door. So we know there's a door here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a door in the middle down here. So this is where I had mentioned. Ooh, did I break my own rule? I did. What's this? I made a boo-boo. had too many sections drawn together, so I deleted 2 walls there when I really only wanted to do 1. Change all of these back to a solid black color. And again, if you do the Control A, you can actually go in and, with your line segments at least, if this is where the section you're in, you can change your line segment colors if you want. Okay, so I need to go ahead and get our drawing tool back, go back to it being black, and redraw this wall segment. Add a section here, and add a section here. See, now, if we want, that up. Okay. You could say that our players came in from an outside section, so we can actually use our buffer zone here now as an outside to the dungeon and actually put other stuff in there if we want to. I'm not going to decorate that right now. That's just something we can do. But let's go ahead and say, you know, hey, when they walk in, they're met in a grand entryway with ornate tiles on the floor. So we're going to choose this as our tile. And we still have our drawing. So our selection tool. And we're going to set this up. You can see I'm kind of overlapping on the drawn borders, so I'm going to select these, send it to the back. There we go. This is why I don't recommend copying and pasting. So I can come here. I can say I want to copy it. Then what's going to happen is when I paste it, it's going to paste the middle of whatever it is I wanted wherever my mouse is. So you see it's all going to be overlaid. So if I try to grab it all, there's a chance I could wind up grabbing something else, and I don't want to do that. We're going to send it to the back. Going to paste. And that overlaid that border, which means I would have grabbed it, so I don't want that. To the back. Got to do this in a bigger open area. And to the back. So now we have this ornate tile floor in the entryway. And when they get through this, say this is a dining room that's going to have some different type of tile floor. We can look through here since we had tile. And we have a wood floor option there. We could use this, I forget what the name of that. I know it's got a French name to that type of cross, but we could put this in as floor tiles. And see if we go ahead and use these, we can just go copy, paste, and whenever we overlay them, they fill in a pattern. But again, they're overdoing our lines, so we're going to go to the back. Copy, paste. Ah, see how it overlapped there? That's going to be fun. Let's make sure we don't accidentally grab the wrong thing. My wife is having fun out there. I don't know if y'all can hear it through my microphone, but she's watching wrestling and she is getting excited. It's quite funny. Love her to death. She's just having so much fun out there. I wish you guys could hear it. Okay, so we're going to do these a single tile at a time now. As excited as she is, I have a funny feeling she'll be walking in here any minute to share the news as to what's going on. Okay. Now I'm going to leave one of these sections open and I'll show you why in a moment. There's something fun you can do with these tiles. So we have this tile set here. And if we decide, you know, I really don't want this to be a red color, you can highlight them. Oh, that's right. My apologies. I should have done this earlier. If we don't like this red color, we can go ahead and double click on it. And there's a tint color, and you could change it. Say, I want it to be more blue. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to overlay a blue onto this, so it's going to look more purple than anything, but you can change the colors if you want. I could even darken it up if I want it to be darker. Basically, you're going to be playing with, like, masking it. So like I said, if you do blue over red, it's going to look purple. If I put a yellow overlay on it, it's going to look orange. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is for now. This bottom one down here is transparent. I'll click that, and that's going to basically reset it to the way it was. Go back. Okay. So we have rooms 1 and 2 with some decoration. Let's say, okay, now we need to worry about, what are we going to use for doorways in here? Well, what we can do is when we have these 10-foot sections, I usually look for an arch. I don't want archers. And what you're going to want, this is where it's going to get a little tricky. You can draw your own doors if you want. I usually try to use ones that are built in. But you're going to want to look for something that's going to reach as wide in its token area here than something that sits more in the center. That way it actually sits on the edge of each square. So we're going to give this a try, and I'm going to hope that this doesn't have a white background, that it's actually transparent, and it is. So if I put this here, you can see it's sitting on the edge, which is what I said I wanted. But let's say I wanted to kind of straddle this. I'm going to hold down the Alt key while I drag it, and I'm going to drop it where I want it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold Alt, and bam, I have a doorway on there now. So if I bring my character out here, and let's just go ahead and rejoin as a player. Okay. We have my token here. Is that letting me select? I put it on the map layer. Some of the fun stuff that you saw whenever I logged into my account yesterday and you saw my splash page, it says I've been playing for over just around 3 years now. I've got hundreds of hours in on this, and I still goof up, but it's fine. Okay, so I need to go back to the map layer. Send this guy to the token layer. There we go. Now we can see my name on the character. So, rejoin as player. Okay. Alright. So now, as you can see, my character can move wherever I want him to, because I don't have any kind of collision detection or anything turned on with these walls. And honestly, if you're going to go with a free account, you're probably going to want to make your walls more... Huh. My daughter must have sent me something on Mitomo. You're going to want to make the walls probably something a little more visible, or change the line thickness so that, your players know that is a wall there. You can't just walk through it, because they'll just walk through it. You can put Fog of War in. I'll get into that in a little bit. Not a big fan of it. I'd rather pay the $5 a month and have the no ads and have the dynamic lighting than have to deal with Fog of War. But like I said, as our character's here, and we haven't done any kind of lighting effects, so we can see everything and we can go everywhere. So that's good. Let's go back into the GM mode. Okay. So, what is the setup for all this dynamic lighting stuff that I've just been going on and on and on and on and on about? Okay. So, let's do a little bit of Fog of War first. So here's what Fog of War is going to do. I'm going to go ahead and enable it. And as you can see, everything just kind of tinted out on me. What's going to happen is everything that's tinted out It's just going to be completely black for the characters. They're not going to be able to see what's on that part of the map. If they move their token into that section of the map, the DM's going to have to drag it back out for them because they're not going to be able to see it. It'll look something like this. Where's my GM opacity? See if I turn it all the way down. Oops. Oh, we got to turn it all the way up. Sorry. That's what it's going to look like to the players because everything in black is Fog of War. Turn our opacity back to something reasonable. Okay. So what if we say, you know, hey, we want the player to be able to see at least this first room. Well, in our toolbar over here, there's a little eyeball. Let's go to the map and background layer. Go to the eyeball and say we need to do polygon reveal. And the reason I say to do a polygon reveal is the same rules apply. I want to open up this room to the player. I'm going to shift and click here. See that little gray dot there? And we're going to reveal to here, and to here, and to here. We're going to right click it. And as you see, that lightened up really quick. So we need to go ahead and open this up to our players. And give me a second here. You want to know something though funny, hon? I unmuted myself just because this is funny and everybody will hear it that sees this. I had mentioned a few minutes ago because I could hear you getting pretty excited about the match. I was like, I guarantee give it a few minutes. She's going to come in here and tell me about it. And she just did. She told me about Jinder Mahal beating somebody. Who? Baron Corbin? Okay.
And that's rare.
Okay. You enjoy. Okay, so we're doing the reveal area. I went ahead and drew this line here, and we're going to reveal over to here and up to here. Right click to commit it, and you can see that open back up. So let's go back in and see it as the player would see it. Now, the Fog of War is not affected by any kind of like dark vision or anything that you set up with the lighting that I had mentioned before. I believe this token has sight. Oh no, I didn't do that. Okay, so watch this. I drop my character here. Oh, okay, so I can't see it. Okay, so I guess I haven't played with Fog of War as much as I thought I'd seen it before, but as you can see, I can't see anything that hasn't been revealed to me. So I could move my character around on it, but it doesn't do any good because I don't know what the heck is out here. And you can kind of see, like right here, you can tell that there's a missing portion of the wall there because you can see it kind of dips in slightly. So it's a good indicator that there's a door there. So this can help. I mean, this will help if you want to keep certain parts of the map hidden as you go. But dynamic lighting is going to do so much more for you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn Fog of War off. Actually, before I turn it off, I'll show you the other Fog of War tools. In the reveal, we did a polygon reveal, and we can just do a reveal areas. And this is pretty much going to let us just drag and drop, you know, we can open that up, open that up, open that up, open that up. And those will all be there. Or you can just do a reset fog. And it unreveals everything. Same thing if you were to have all of this open and let's say, you know, a black dragon suddenly casts a darken spell and no amount of magical light or sight can peer past it, then all of a sudden you can go into your hide areas and boom, you can't see there because the black dragons cast their darkness there. So that's how you do Fog of War. Dynamic lighting, I'm going to turn it off and then go back in and do this. I'm going to say I want dynamic lighting enabled. I want line of sight enforced. This is where I was mentioning before where you can't see around corners and such. And I want to restrict movement. Say, okay. So by default, everything is going to be dark. So let's go ahead and edit our token here. Oh, I guess it helps if we click our arrow, our cursor. And we're going to give our guy 20-foot light that dims after 5. So he's got just like some weird, weak version of magical lighting. Now you can see here, that's what everything would look like. Now, if you want to know what the player, it looks like for the players without going back and forth between player and GM mode, you can just go ahead and turn your GM opacity all the way up. And this is how it would look for this player on the player map. As you can see, it's just showing everything because we haven't actually done anything to make it say where the dynamic lighting borders are. So, what we'll do now, change our GM opacity back just so we can see things properly. Actually, we don't even need to do that because if we go to our dynamic lighting layer, oh, it should have, well, I guess it doesn't. I could have swore that that was the layer that it would go back and just give you all the light back. So we're going to go ahead and change our opacity again. We'll just reveal everything. Now, so what I want to do is, let's say our little stone archway down there where our character's sitting right now. Let's say it's got a door that swings open, but it appears to be locked. Our characters need to unlock it, bash it down, something. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm on dynamic lighting layer, I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to do polygon lines. Now the dynamic lighting layer, what I try to do is keep walls one colors and doorways a different color. So just to make it stand out, I'm going to make my walls green. And basically we're just going to do the same steps we did on the map layer. And I'm going to do a shift click, right click to commit it. And we're just going to start drawing walls where our existing walls are, because this is on a separate layer. Okay. Now, let's say I want doors to be red. I come here. I'm going to draw a red line over that. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to draw a line over this. Actually, let's undo that one. I can't undo it. Okay. Just delete. And try again. And we're just going to put a 5-foot door in just to say, you know, hey, this is with a door, this is without a door. And we need to do the same with that or we're never going to get into this play. Actually, we will. Okay, so let me show you what happens now. For this to function properly, I need to go to the player layer. Because as a GM, I can go ahead and move everything around wherever I want it. And that's not going to let me display what's going on. Oh yeah, by default, when you load into a map, you start at the upper left corner. And since we're darkened out, everything's black. So we got to go to where our token is. Okay, so here's my token. He's got light that can see here. And if you remember, I went ahead and put those green lines there. And now my character can't move through there. It's a wall. You know, oh no, there's a doorway here. I can't get through it. What's going on? Well, I only put it on part of the room's wall. So if I go down here where I didn't put any of the lines in, it's like, oh, look, I can do whatever. Same thing. This is where I said, you know, we have a door, not a door. So we can enforce line of sight. If our character's sitting down here, he can't see anything outside of his radiance. And if he's sitting down here in this corner, these walls are blocking it, so he can't see anything out here, even though there's the white squares out here. He can't see them. So we also mentioned about changing it that way your players aren't just dragging it around, use them as like a little spotlight on sections. That we want it to only update whenever the token drops. I'll show you what that does for you. When you do it update on drop. Okay, we're going to go back into the player mode. Now, as you can see, I can move this player around all day long. He's still going to be restricted by the walls, but he can't do anything. And until the player token drops, the lighting doesn't update. And if you see a character moving around like this, you obviously know they're trying to spotlight stuff, which isn't cool. So this is where it also comes in where I had mentioned you need to move your character. I keep saying as I had mentioned. I'm trying to remember if that was even on this, because when I was doing some pre-tests and setting up, trying to get the stream working properly, I kind of was describing some of this just in case anybody happened to be in there and seeing it. But when you have your token selected just by clicking on it, you can use your arrow keys on your keyboard, left, right, down, up, and it will move them 1 unit. So as you can see, you have a little bit of lag. So if I go like this, it doesn't look like my character moved. But once I stop, you see the change commit. So this might be, if you're worried about players that are trying to meta on you, this might be your best option, because until that token drops, to the DM, it's just going to look like they're sitting there. Okay, so let's go back out. Okay. So let's say now we know this is a door and this was a door. So let's just go ahead and draw some dynamic lighting layers. We won't worry about any more background stuff at the moment. Just going to get our dynamic lighting done. So we said we're going to use green for the walls. And let's start drawing. Just going to start here and go over, commit, 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 commit. Hold on a second. Oh, my wife was hollering at me. She's yelling at the cat. No. I thought she was saying Joe. So we know this is a wall section. And with this, we're going to lock our player inside. And my ear's itching. I apologize. Sure, you don't want to see me scratching my ear. Sometimes in those T sections, if I'm really paying attention, I'll split it where the T is, just so we don't have one big line section again. Okay, we're almost there. And boom shakalaka. Okay, so we said we were going to use reds for our doors. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to put half doors in. And that was where all of our doors were. Okay, now if I had something like, let's say I wanted this to be room 4 was a secret room, then what I can do is I can again just choose a completely different color. Let's say we're going to use purple. And let me go ahead and delete this. Choose purple again. Which one? That one. You can say purple is a secret door. But let's say we forgot. We built this and it was a couple weeks later and we're like, why is that one purple? What we can also do is go to the GM overlay layer and we can choose, where's text? Right there, text. And we can choose a font and a size. I'm going to make it big. I'm going to make it 72. I'm going to make it black font. And I'm going to put an S right here. Now, you have to click Alt if you don't want it to conform to the grid. So now when our players come in, they're not going to see this opening right here because we only have it on the dynamic lighting layer. And we only have dynamic lighting layer stuff showing here and here. So did we go ahead and change that one to a half door? We did. Go ahead and change this to a half door while we're at it, just so we can get in and out of the building completely. Okay, so now we have all of our dynamic lighting set up for this dungeon. Go back in as a player. Okay, so we'll choose our token here. And we still have our lighting set to only update on drop. So as we're walking around here, we go up into here now. Over here, if you remember, this is where we're going to go into the hallway there. And there's a doorway here, but it's that secret door. Now it's kind of noticeable. You can see right here. But if you put some tiles down, it may not be. You have to play around with it to see what's acceptable for you. For all you players might know, it could just be a jagged edge of what you drew. But basically, there's your secret door there. If you really want it to stand out, you can go ahead and throw in another line segment there. Like I said, we can just make it a different color, or you can use the same color if you really want it to be a secret door. Since you as the DM have the S mark there, then now you can toggle between your dynamic lighting and your map and background layer. So now, as your player's sitting there, it's not even noticeable. You just have a straight wall here. Your player would never know that that's there unless they went outside the building, went all the way up and around, and realized, hey, there's something right here, but inside there was nothing. The only way they would really know is if they had an outside view of your dungeon. Which you can box them in if you don't want them to be searching around the outside, but hey, what's the fun in that? They're going to take you for some fun and wild rides. I mean, for all you want to know, or for all you know, maybe you just leave that as the regular room and you open this wall up here as a secret entrance. You know, maybe this opens up and goes into a staircase down to a second level, and you can just have another map for level 2 of this dungeon, and maybe it's a larger subterranean realm that, you know, Drow have been working through, you know, attacking the surface world at night, and this is the way they get in and out, is through this secret entrance, or, you know, whatever story hook you want to use. But anyway, so that is one way to set up a map. Now, I think I showed this one, I don't remember. This is another fan contributed one. This one did not line up properly originally. When I downloaded it, it did not want to play nice. You'll see there's like one funny little square here. And they use that as a guide for sites like this so you can get it to match up properly. So let's say you get a, we'll just go ahead and make a new one and we'll show you what we had to deal with. And let me see what this one, we had to do 32 by 22. So we're going to go ahead and make this one 33 by 23 just to give us some buffer. Okay, so that map I downloaded. Let's see. There we go. We have two different versions of it, but we'll go ahead and use this one. This one I know will match up properly eventually once we work with it. Before we take it out there, let's make sure, see we're on the objects and tokens. Go to our map and background layer. And you're like, ugh, that doesn't even work. Well, we're going to need to stretch it out. Well, stretching it out isn't even really working either. So, this one actually didn't have grid lines, so I had to play around with it. But if you're lucky enough to find a fan contributed map that has a key like that, you basically just have to play around with it until you get a match like that. Now, if you have a map that has grid lines, which I think this one, the original one here, does. Yes, it does. Okay. These can be a little bit of a pain to work with, because what you're going to have to do is, just to make it simple, is I'm going to go in and turn my grid lines off. And then I'm going to zoom in really close so I can see its grid lines properly. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click it and we're going to go to advanced. We're going to tell it to align to grid. Oh, okay. I guess we're going to leave grid on to do that. I haven't done this in forever. Okay. So let's change our grid lines to something that we really can't mix up for theirs. I'm just going to make it a light blue. Okay. So let's go advanced, align to grid. And it's going to tell me I need to line up a 3x3 section of their grid. So I need to find an intersection on their grid, which is going to be right here. Try to line up the best I can here. I go up one, which is going to go, there's one grid, two grid, three. And I believe three is going to be halfway through that wall. And if we're comfortable, we let go. And it says we're going to need it's going to tell us that our grid cells are 48 by 48 pixels. We're going to resize the map image so it matches your page's current grid. Is that good? Sure. And let's zoom out. And that really didn't work. It doesn't always play nice, especially with maps like this, just because they have these thick walls that's just going to throw it off. So, but sometimes it does work. I know I have a map somewhere that will fit properly. I just don't remember where. Might have actually taken it out. Not that one. This is making for a real fine episode, isn't it? Well, what is that? That's something different. I don't think that one had it. Nope, that didn't have any grids. But I mean, you get the picture. If you just get a basic map like this one, then you could do, excuse me, a 3x3, which would take you from here to here to here to here, and it would make this map blow up. Which is why I said I don't want to import this map, because we would just have all of this dead space around here. Okay, so let's see what other tips can we work with right now. If you're done with the map, so I'm not going to do anything with this untitled one, you can actually delete them. No, I can't delete it if I'm currently on. So we're going to go back to the one. Okay. So it's really all, that's really all there is to making maps. It's not difficult. Takes a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of practice, just remembering your little ins and outs of adding everything to this. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be doing another session of this. I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up the pace of every day. I usually honestly stream when my wife's watching wrestling, which really comes on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time. I give it about an hour into it. That way, if anything comes up, or she needs anything while it's going on, I have time to do that. And then 8 o'clock Central Time comes around, and I'll start streaming. So Thursday, so day after tomorrow, as of this recording session, I'll probably get on here again, and we'll go through setting up monsters. Just as a quick little preview in our journal here, you see I have up the setup that says monster manual, challenge rating 1/4, and I have a zombie. So if I'm going to be doing a map and there's a zombie hidden up in this room who wouldn't be on the map, I can have zombies that we can attack. And look, our zombie has something in his blue circle, which is his passive wisdom, I believe. No, it's his armor. NPCs act a little differently. Yeah, NPCs act a little, but we can fix it up. And we'll get into how we do that, because we can have all kinds of fun with this zombie, because once we have it set up, we can even attack with them. So our zombie's going to attack player 1 here, and he's going to hit him with his slam. Can he beat a 5 armor? Sure. My guy's sitting around naked. No, that wouldn't even work, because 10's a natural armor class. Anyway, this is the kind of fun we can have with it, so we'll get into setting up monsters next time. So for now, I am going to say I'm logging off. Looking in OBS, we had 119 drop frames somewhere, but that's not bad because we have been now going for 1 hour and 12 minutes. So I'm just going to say everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next time.